Good morning, second graders. Today for reading, we're going to be practicing reading our poetry fluently. And when good readers read poetry fluently, they're thinking about a few things. The first thing we need to think about is our pace. We don't want to read too fast, and we don't want to read too slow. So we're going to take a look at this poem here. The title is Cooperation. And I've got my first two stanzas here. So I'm going to read them and tell me what you think about this. Since there are two horses and there's only one tree in the pasture, an agreement was made to share this narrow strip of shade. Now, something doesn't sound a little bit right with either of those first two stanzas. It sounds like my first one was too fast, and my last one was way too slow. As readers of poetry, we need to find a little bit of a balance in between that. We want to read not too fast and not too slow, just right. So let me try again now, reading with a really good reader's pace. Cooperation. Since there are two horses and only one tree in the pasture, an agreement was made to share this narrow strip of shade. Now, the other thing that readers need to think about when they are reading poetry and they want to work on their fluency is that they need to think about punctuation. So in these second two stanzas here, I'm noticing that we've got lots of different kinds of punctuation, and I need to make sure that I use my voice to read them. So we have two different kinds here. In the first stanza, we see we've got a couple commas, and a comma is going to tell us that we need to take a pause, that we need to take a little bit of a break. The other thing we see in this second stanza is what we call a hyphen, and that also tells us that we need to take a bit of a pause. And our author is using this on purpose, so we want to make sure that we're definitely reading it. That also leads us to the last thing that readers need to think about when we're reading some poetry, is that we need to read the white space. And what I mean about that is when we learned last week how important the white space or the space in between our stanzas can be, as poetry readers, we want to make sure we're reading that white space and giving a pause there as well. So let's take a look at these last two stanzas, and I'm going to kind of put all those pauses together. Here we go. So, Molly and Ed, both rather plump, stand side by side. Muzzle to rump and rump to muzzle, like a jigsaw puzzle. So notice that I used a little bit of a pause after each comma for that white space in between my stanzas and for that hyphen. So today, friends, I want to hear you practicing your poetry and reading fluently, thinking about your pace, thinking about the punctuation, and thinking about the white space in your poems. So what I would like you to do today is to choose a poem, and you're going to practice reading it out loud. Then you're going to record yourself reading that poem so that we can hear you practicing your fluency. Happy reading, friends!